Welcome. This session is going to focus on how to cultivate goals about the passion or interests that you are trying to find. The intended audience of this session is for students and for parents, actually. So either one can watch. It's also intended for mainly ninth and 10th grade students, so for students who are in the earlier part of their journey for high school. All right, let's get started. Here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover reflecting on your interests or helping your student reflect on their interests. We're going to cover how to explore those interests, long-term goals versus short-term goal setting, and then go into some local examples to give you some ideas of how to kind of approach this process when it comes to setting goals. All right, so as I mentioned, this session is for both parents and for students. So if you're a parent today, try to reflect and remember your high school self. What were some of the things that you really enjoyed when you were in high school? Or maybe you remember more vividly the things that you wanted to avoid, right? There were probably a variety of things that were not your favorite. To try to connect to what it's like to be a young person again and all of the competing things that were trying to get your attention. And if you're a student, in your free time, what do you enjoy doing? What do you like to learn about when you're not in class? Like if unprompted, you want to go and read that Wikipedia page about it, or what do you lose track of time when you're doing that thing, right? Is there anything that all of a sudden 5 hours have gone by and you are doing this one thing? And don't dismiss anything, right? There's many different things that you can do and get involved in outside of the classroom, from talking on the phone to cooking to working on a car to working outside in your lawn or gardening, right? There's a variety of things that you can get involved doing. So another thing I should mention is that when it comes to the focus of this session, we're trying to focus on like ways to really harness your engagement or focus on the things that you enjoy. If it seems like there's a significant mental health issue, it's going to be a bit more of a different talk than the focus of this session. But keep that in mind if you're talking to your student, or if this is you going on this journey of trying to identify what you enjoy. Be open to what those things might be, and don't turn down anything that might not be your favorite thing. I know that as a parent, sometimes video games are not seen as the best use of a student's time, but there are computer engineering majors that have elements of game design, or on the other side, graphic design majors that have elements of computer science. So there's a whole industry around it. There's actually even scholarships around video games. So let's keep an open mind around all of the different ways that we can try to harness students' interests outside of the classroom. On the other side of why is it helpful to be having these conversations about what to do with your free time outside of the classroom? We're also thinking about it from the perspective of college, right? When it comes to getting into different colleges, a bunch of colleges, when you apply to them, want to know the extracurriculars that you're getting involved in outside of the classroom. So something that parents will ask me, or they'll ask college admissions representatives, are what are the best extracurriculars for my student to do, or how can my student stand out in the college process? And often the type of answer that you're going to get, particularly from the college admissions side, is we really love for students to be involved in any of their interests. Or we really love students who are involved in their community. It ends up being a very vague, kind of unsatisfying answer. And the reason why is colleges have all different types of students who apply to their schools, who have gotten to an expert level of being able to articulate a set of interests that they've been involved in outside of the classroom. So they have students who are expert coin collectors, who apply to their colleges, and there's a whole part of this student's journey that has been about collecting these antique coins, or student athletes, right? When it comes to being a student athlete, it's a very time consuming thing, but maybe they've also explored coaching and have been part of charity work when it comes to their sport. There's also artists, right? In every direction, you name it. So colleges aren't going to pin down a particular extracurricular as one better than the other, but they do want to see students who are getting involved in their community or in their passions outside of the classroom. When it comes to the admissions process, right, colleges are basing what your student will do or what you will do at their college based on what you have already done in high school, right? They're trying to make a prediction. So you as a student want to get involved in as many things that you enjoy, not a ton of things, but things that you enjoy in high school, because that's going to look like this student has already been getting out in their community and they're going to do the same thing at my college. That's very appealing to them. Okay, so when it comes to the college perspective of how should I be spending my time outside of the classroom, or how should my student be spending their time outside of the classroom, there's no one size fits all answer. It can be helpful to do something that's kind of off the beaten path in terms of extracurriculars. But what's the most important thing is that you're doing things that you enjoy. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to excel and continue to motivate yourself to get involved in that thing. So let's talk about some more specifics in terms of what those things can be. When it comes to trying to find your interests or find your passions, here are some ways that you can help your student find their interests. Use the weekend as a way to explore a variety of new environments. So whether it's going to different local museums, we have the computer museum locally, right? We have the aviation museum. There are a variety of art museums, local performances, the aquarium. Maybe there's a local police event going on, right? Exploring different environments and seeing what sparks interest, or maybe something even more low key, like a documentary and something that is really interesting. Does your student have more questions about it? Do you want to learn more about that topic, right? Using those low lift type of experiences to see what you find engaging. Another thing that you can do to explore and find new interests is reflecting on the people who you admire. So when it comes to famous people or public figures, what do you admire about that public figure? What are they doing? Is it related to their career, or is it specific advocacy things that this person has done, right? Using people to try to parse apart what you could potentially do in the future. When it comes to your free time or your students' free time, what type of hobbies do you like to do, right? As I was mentioning before, or how do you like to socialize? Or maybe you're someone who doesn't enjoy socializing as much, but maybe a student who really enjoys talking on the phone. Maybe they really enjoy helping their friends analyze their personal problems. Maybe they have an interest in psychology or sociology. For students who really enjoy shopping, maybe they could start exploring more of the business entrepreneurial side, and maybe open their own Etsy shop and sell their own things. Or perhaps you have a student who loves to spend a lot of time outside in the garden. Maybe they have a real interest in botany, and they can start recording videos of how to plant certain plants, or just doing it on their Instagram, right? There's a variety of ways to start making more of the hobbies or the interests that your student or that you're doing in your free time. And then when it comes to hobbies and academic interests, sometimes, right, that's the most clear pathway to connecting to ways that you can do that more constructively outside of the classroom. right? You can do free online classes or other summer programs at colleges. That category is probably the most straightforward, and you probably wouldn't be watching this presentation if you needed more ideas about how to get involved in things outside of the classroom. Let's talk about now actually embracing those interests and right continuing to develop them, and then in more of the exploratory context. So trying to nail down some ideas of how to do these things. So when it comes to the vision of what your interests or goals are, what can that actually look like for you or for your students? So first start locally. What do we have available here at Mountain View, Los Altos? Is there a club that you can get involved in? Is there a class that you can get involved in? Are there online classes in the thing? Often online classes that are free, while you're not earning credit for it, it's a really light lift way of exploring a topic that you might not have access to as a high school student. That can be really nice, right? Easily exploring this subject without a grade attached to it. There's that potential. When it comes to the goals that you have, they might be pretty lofty goals, right? Don't dismiss them. So your goal might be to be an NBA star. Okay, really, really lofty goal. Keep on playing basketball, but also explore other sides of that thing. So also explore sports communication, also explore maybe the statistics behind sports, right? There's a lot of different aspects of every industry. So keep your mind open. What else is related to the thing that is my main goal? When it comes to quantity, like how many things should I get involved in? How many clubs should I do? Here's what I would think of first. When you're in ninth grade or 10th grade, I think it's a bit easier to cast a wider net, right? Particularly with school clubs. You can get involved in many different things, right? Through those school clubs. And with each one, you'll kind of find out that there's like a different culture with each club, right? A different like identity that you might be trying on. And then as you go throughout high school and you spend more time exploring that thing, you can more easily let things go that you don't enjoy as much. And that can really shape how you spend time during your junior year. So for example, when I was in high school, I was really passionate about journalism. I was on school newspaper. I did like little conferences on the weekend. And I attended this one conference where a journalist was presenting, and he spoke about how, in order to get his first big break in his career, the story that really launched him, he kind of had to decide to betray someone who he at the time had considered a friend. And that to me was something that when it comes to, I know not every journalist has to betray friends, but having to be in an industry where the information is going to be so important was really clarifying to me in like how I might have to function in that world. Um, it's those types of experiences, right, where you're getting more exposure to it, and you're seeing, is this something that is fundamental to the thing, or is it just superficial and I don't want to continue on in student journalism because every Friday night I'm really tired, and that's when this extracurricular or club is happening. So make sure that when you're dropping an interest, that it's for like a core kind of reason, and not something that can be easily kind of changed by either joining at a different time or maybe with a different group of people for that interest. And then there's the logistics of it, of trying to achieve that goal or get involved in that interest. What's the budget, right? During the summer, you can go farther away because you don't have to be at school every day. So there's that logistical piece. So the summer you have more room for exploring, and then in turn, how could you get involved in that thing during the school year, right? There's how could those experiences compare? And then budgets are really big one, right? Money is a limited quantity. So if your budget is lower, look at community college, right? Those classes are very affordable. Um, Also, volunteering is the other way to go, and volunteering can be kind of kind of tricky to find. There are databases that share those opportunities, but sometimes they don't really advertise that they're looking for volunteers. So sometimes you just have to reach out to someone, maybe introduce yourself, give a phone call, and just see if they need help. Um, Stepping up and putting yourself out there, it's a really good way of just finding more. But it is true that if your budget is pretty focused, that it is going to take some more digging in order to find those opportunities that will really help you explore the things that you want to get involved in. All right. Now, when it comes to setting your goals, there are a variety of ways that you can approach this in terms of making a plan, creating goals in order to really harness the most of your time outside of high school. So I think a pretty straightforward way is this last set of ideas here, the 4-year plan versus the summer plan. So after getting involved in all the things that you've gotten involved in over the course over freshman year, or maybe you're a sophomore and there's a few different things that you've gotten involved in, start off with the summer plan. What can you do with this summer in that realm that you can explore more of it? And then, because a bunch of deadlines might have passed for you to get involved in particular programs or maybe internships, look up what you can do next summer now. And you can be aware of those deadlines and what that application process is. And a summer plan can then be built out into a 4-year plan. So what are you going to do over this school year in addition to the summer to stay involved in those things and figure it out if that's something that you want to continue doing? For some students, maybe thinking of those things to do isn't quite as helpful. So maybe it's more helpful to think of like, what are my short-term goals versus my long-term goals? So for example, let's say maybe you're a freshman. It would be a great idea for freshmen for this semester, or what's left of it, how many clubs do you want to get involved in, right? Maybe it's only time to get involved in one more club because it's the academic year. So maybe it would be more of, I'm going to find some type of volunteering opportunity because I've never done that before, and I'm going to get involved in it this summer, right? Setting a quantity for maybe how many things do I want to accomplish with the rest of the semester outside of the classroom. When it comes to those long-term goals, perhaps it's, I have identified that I am passionate in being a student activist. In what realm of student activism do I see myself? Or perhaps it's deciding between 3 very significantly different interests. So I'm very interested in politics, and I'm interested in filmmaking, and I'm also interested in graphic design. I would like to know by the end of next year what one is more significant to me than the other two. And for other students, maybe thinking of the achievement at the end of what they want, right? So maybe you're that student who wants to be the MBA star, or maybe you're someone who wants to become very active in politics. You want to be the president, and breaking out the skills that are involved in that thing. So not just practicing basketball, but also those other sports related interests, right? Breaking things down to see the elements of them. All right, so that's kind of an abstract way of thinking about how to make goals. Let's talk about some examples that make this a bit more clear. All right, example 1, a student environmentalist. Here is a plan. I think of this as kind of a hybrid of like a 4-year plan and a summer plan, because I'm highlighting specific summer programs. But if you're someone who's a student environmentalist, maybe these would be some things that you could check out or what that student could do. So we have a variety of different clubs that are involved in environmentalism. One that I thought looked pretty great was the Marine Biology and Ocean Conservation Club. I believe they do beach cleanups on the weekend, right? They get more involved in that and find out different aspects of how to help the environment. There's a local program called Grassroots Ecology Youth Stewards Program that's during the school year. It's free. And it is very local, and students get to learn about our local redwood forests. We also, and then comes to different summer programs. There's Headwaters Environmental Research Camp. This was one that I chose because it's based in Lake Tahoe, so it's not very local, but it's within the state of California, so it makes the transportation piece of getting there not as expensive. And students are very much in the great outdoors running research, which is very cool. And that last program there, the UC Davis Young Scholars Program, is a somewhat selective summer program at UC Davis that's for students who are interested in all different aspects of STEM. And once again, they're getting involved in research as a high school student, and they're really starting to understand what that process looks like. And the student could focus on environmentalism while they're there. Next example, filmmaker. So we have, once again, a particular club, starting to get the pattern, a student club. When it comes to filmmaking, social media as well, there are a lot of local nonprofits that do not necessarily have a full staff to do something that's as specialized. So I would imagine that this would be something that a student could easily volunteer their time for in order to get some more professional experience. I know that Mountain View Los Altos High School District sometimes uses students for a variety of different photo, film type opportunities. A summer program that I would like to highlight is the LMU Film Production Pre-College Program. So it's very specifically focused on film production. And they would also get the piece of college life because it would be a summer program as well. So that would be nice. And then that last point there, NIFTY, is a National Film Festival for Talented Youth. So there's a lot of different youth film festival programs. It would be great for a student to get engaged in that type of opportunity. Once again, like be on a team to produce something and get that exposure. And then the last example here would be for a student healthcare worker, maybe a future doctor, a future nurse, someone in our healthcare field, a student club, a biology club, right? There are a variety that we have here at Mountain View Los Altos. When it comes to volunteering in the realm of healthcare, since the pandemic, more and more places have been reopening their doors to student volunteers. And one of the most common opportunities for a place like Kaiser Permanente or Stanford Children's Health would be someone who can kind of help out at like the front desk kind of position, or maybe they can shadow a family friend. Is another possibility. There's a sports medicine class that we have here at school where students can actually assist athletes after school, which is a very cool opportunity. And Stanford, that last highlight, has a lot of science, and then there are a few in particular medical opportunities through Stanford. So I wanted to highlight the Stanford Medical Clinical Internship. That would be a great opportunity for students, and that one in particular happens to be virtual and in person. So that was the context for today when it comes to how you as a student can identify things that you might be more interested in and how to make them become more of a reality outside of the classroom. Or as a parent, how can you help your student reflect on things, right? Identifying how they're spending their free time, remembering how maybe you got more motivated when you were younger, and trying to identify those local versus summer type of opportunities and make the most out of a student's time outside of the classroom in ways that they really enjoy it.